The Trump administration completed 7,300 deportations within its first week, with even more coming this week. At this point, we just have to deport them faster than Angelina Jolie can adopt them. And that was tonight's joke from 2009. Colombia initially said they wouldn't take people back, but then Trump threatened them with tariffs while playing a round of golf, and they backed down. He managed to negotiate an international agreement between the 3rd and 8th holes. It sounds surprising until you learn that he made the Hamas ceasefire deal while reheating a fillet of fish. It's far from over, but it's a strong start. ICE Director Tom Homan thinks that we need to pick up the pace. Pretty soon, we're going to see guys getting loaded up in Amazon trucks. Your country needs you, Jeff. And as far as resistance, there's been way less than I thought. Even Newsweek is saying that it could cause wage increases, which no one is happier about than print journalists. But many on the left are still trying to push back. They're posting AI images, celebrities are crying on Instagram.
I'm so sorry.
Those things you can just dunk on and dismiss, but there are still a few ideas there too, a few notions that need to be put to bed. Now, I'm not trying to convince a leftist on this stuff. I'd be better off trying to get RFK Jr. to eat a Pringle. We just need to have this stuff straight for our own benefit. So here's the big one I'm sure you've heard in the last few days.
This is a country founded by immigrants.
That's CBS's Margaret Brennan interviewing J.D. Vance. Vance goes on to answer by drawing a distinction between immigrants and settlers, a distinction I first read in Samuel Huntington's book, Who Are We?, and which Jeremy Carl has done a fine piece about. But Margaret here isn't the only one who's used this phrase. There's presidents.
We are a nation of immigrants.
We're a nation of immigrants. We're a nation of immigrants.
Comedians.
We're a nation of immigrants.
This is a nation of immigrants.
Last time I heard all those guys using the same phrase, it was
Safe and effective.
Here's Huntington. In its origins, America was not a nation of immigrants. It was a society or societies of settlers who came to the New World in the 17th and 18th centuries. But isn't that just words? Isn't this just Americans trying to make themselves feel better? What's the difference between settlers and immigrants? Huntington again. Settlers leave an existing society, usually in a group, in order to create a new community, in a new and often distant territory. They are imbued with a sense of collective purpose. Immigrants, in contrast, do not create a new society. They move from one society to a different society. The 17th and 18th century settlers came in order to create societies that embodied and would reinforce the culture and values they brought with them from their origin country. Immigrants came later because they wanted to become part of the society the settlers had created. Before immigrants could come to America, settlers had to found America. It's different in the same way starting a company is different from joining a company. Think about it. Who has more authority on what Apple is? Steve Jobs, even after his death, or the college student who's been working at the Apple store for 6 months? According to Huntington, the term immigrant came into the English language in the America of the 1780s to distinguish current arrivals from the founding settlers. And now it's being used as a way to flatten that distinction. America as a nation of immigrants is an attempt to say that America is nothing in particular, that no one has any more claim on what America is than the next person. But if it's a nation of settlers, that means it's something specific. And what is that specific thing? America's core culture is the culture of the 17th and 18th century settlers who founded American society. The central elements of that culture can be defined in a variety of ways, but include the Christian religion, Protestant values and moralism, a work ethic, the English language, British traditions of law, justice, and the limits of government power, and a legacy of European art, literature, philosophy, and music. So the difference between settlers and immigrants is like the difference between starting a band and joining a band. And when that happens, you have to have standards. In other words, Ringo, yes. Yoko, oh no. Sorry. If we're a nation of immigrants, that means that American identity is always an open question. If we're a melting pot, then it doesn't really matter what goes into the pot. Sure, you can put all the soda flavors into one cup, but the drink doesn't have the nicest name in the world. Huntington says it's less like a melting pot and more like a tomato soup. You can add things to a tomato soup to make it better. A little cream, some basil, maybe some croutons for texture, but if you start adding chocolate sauce and gummy bears, it's not tomato soup anymore. And you're going to be even more protective of the tomato soup if it's an old family recipe. The truth is that America has a culture. Some things are compatible with that culture, others aren't. America is a particular thing, and saying that immigrants should assimilate is just one way of expressing love for that thing, wanting it to stick around. Until relatively recently, assimilation was expected, but even when everyone's trying their best, assimilation is no joke. It's not as easy as signing a statement of beliefs. In the past, there was a clear American mainstream that the immigrants could assimilate into. I think we can make that happen again, but not on accident. We have to have enough confidence to say that the people who came here last week don't have the same kind of claim on what America is, as do the people who founded Jamestown. I do think we should close the border for a while to help us congeal a bit. But whatever happens, the expectation should be that we want immigrants who love America not just for the opportunities it affords them, but for what it is. Deporting illegals will help with this, but it's just a start. And if you're upset about that, just know,
I'm so sorry.